Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda and Matt.
And hello, David. And hi, Matt.
Hello. Hi. Good to see you both.
So, welcome to all of our listeners around the country, around the world, throughout the galaxy. This is the Feeling Good podcast, and it's episode 481. And because you know Matt's here, it's an Ask David episode. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Rhonda.
And I thought
about today.
I thought I'd start with a really brief, but really poignant endorsement that someone sent you, David, about one of the videos that you posted on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and you posted a video about the keys to connecting with troubled children and teenagers. And this person's name is...
Was that with Adam Holzman?
Adam Holzman, yes.
Yeah.
And what this person sent you is... Everything you share is like gold to me. I'm not a doctor or a patient. You help me understand people and how to approach them.
Well, all I can say is thank you so much, because that's what all three of us are trying to do all the time. Mm-hmm. And when somebody says it, that makes our enterprise absolutely worthwhile. So whatever we're giving to you, you're giving the same or more back to us. And thanks for those kind words. And with regard to kind words, it's 3 days from Christmas. So Merry Christmas to all who celebrate Christmas. And then today is the last day of Hanukkah. And so happy Hanukkah to all who celebrate Hanukkah. And we wish you all a Happy New Year, which is coming up in about a week from now, and hope you've had a wonderful Thanksgiving as well.
Thank you. Okay, well, shall we dive in to our first question?
Juicy questions today.
And you mentioned that we were going to answer this question last week, and so here it is. So it's my question. I'm confused, and I'd like to know what the difference is between two techniques, past projection and memory rescripting. I would love to know more about memory rescripting, since I really don't see much difference between that technique and the technique past projection. But maybe I'm just dense. So if we could talk about that on this Ask David episode, I'd really appreciate it.
Well, let's give you the first shot at on this one, Matt, and if I can throw anything in, I'll be happy to.
Sure, yeah. As a little disclaimer, maybe I would just keep in mind that we're getting into a discussion of methods, and the methods themselves aren't really that complicated or difficult, but the setup is really hard. The agenda setting is really, really important. Past projection is one of those methods that is often used when someone has had a prior trauma, something in their life that is stirring up unwanted memories, tendency to avoid certain types of situations. And there's a lot of research that shows that just going back under certain circumstances to revisit those memories and desensitize to those memories can help people quite a bit with problems like PTSD. And there were studies done at the VA that looked really good for prolonged exposure techniques, where people would go back into their memories and replay these upsetting memories with a lot of support and care, and their symptoms improved pretty radically. The data ultimately didn't look that great, however, And I think it's probably because they weren't doing appropriate agenda setting.
Right, exactly.
To get the permission, for example, to go back into the past and revisit those memories with the understanding that the anxiety is going to get worse before it gets better. I think, just kind of pushing this method on people can actually re-traumatize them if it's not set up carefully. So I just wanted to put out that disclaimer. Do you agree with that?
As well as outcome resistance, are they really looking to be helped because their income may depend on that diagnosis, the disability from PTSD? So then they wouldn't be looking for a cure in the first place.
That can happen for sure, and then often people wouldn't want to let go of feelings of guilt or shame because they feel they deserve it, or they may have a kind of survivor guilt or grief that just connects them to the memory of people that they've lost. So a lot of things can comprise this outcome resistance and process resistance that's so important to address before we get into methods.
I love what you're saying. We don't push methods on techniques or on symptoms or diagnoses. Of course, I've said that now because you've been keeping track numerically, Matt, which I appreciate. And this is the 1013th time we've said it. And no one's listened yet, but I'm always looking forward to the first.
This will be the time. I'm convinced this will be the one.
That we're treating people, excuse me, and not a diagnosis or symptoms. But come to your point, what's the difference between past projection and memory rescripting? I think, wasn't that your question, Rhonda?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. So past projection is simply going into a past memory and often imagining that you're within that memory and that you're able to interact there with your past self, with other people who are in that memory. Sometimes it's enough just to tell your past self that, hey, this wasn't your fault, or to be present with your past self, with your adult mind in a loving way, in a kind way. David, you brought up in your, I read your answer and I loved it. And you brought up that sometimes people just want some revenge. They want to imagine when they go into the past, they want to rescript things where their abuser, gets hurt instead of them getting hurt. The rescripting itself can be done in a lot of creative ways. And I oftentimes will use some imagery. So part of the imagery might be to begin by finding a really safe place. They might imagine they're in a hot tub, just soaking and comfortable, and that this would be the place that they would go back to if the memories that they were exploring got a little too intense, that they could bring their body back to feeling comfortable and safe in that place. I might use some imagery of like a calendar, adding pages rather than having them ripped off, or a clock that's moving backwards in time to the upsetting memory. That would be the past projection. Then the memory rescripting, I like to use something where there's like a remote control, visualize an intuitive remote control where you can adjust what you see in that memory, just like you might edit a video and slow down time or speed it up or change things or edit it or just destroy the videotape completely. You can blow up the memory, erase it from your mind. And people tend to have an intuitive sense of what they would like to do with that memory. And that's the rescripting component. There are lots of bells and whistles we could add to this process, but that's the basic. Those are some of the basics.
So that's beautifully stated. And to make a long story short, past projection simply means, we can work with people in the current moment, or we can have them go into the past using hypnosis or a relaxation technique. And then once they're in the past, we can do an infinite number of things with them. And a common thing would be cognitive flooding, where you instead of running away from the painful memories, you make them as painful as possible for as long as possible until they lose their power to affect you. But in memory rescripting is just another of many things you can do when you have someone in the past. And you can tell them, you can be like a movie director. You see, usually when you have this memory, you see yourself as the victim of your father who abused you, or the babysitter who abused you. And you keep looking at that over and over again. So in a way, you're re-victimizing yourself every time you think of it in the same way. But if you would like, I'll bring you into the intensity of that memory. And then when you're the most anxious, if you like, you can be like a movie director and change the script and have it come out in any way you want. And although I've only done it a few times, because some of these techniques are a little on the more esoteric side, but sometimes, as you mentioned, Matt, the person wants to redo the script in a very grotesque, sadistic, horrific way, and maybe cut the penis and testicles off of the man who was abusing her, and watching him scream as he bleeds to death, and a lot of things like this. And Merv Smucker and Edna Foa were two of the people who invented memory rescripting. Those are the ones who I read their article, so I attribute it to them. Merv Smucker is or was a psychologist in Milwaukee, and of course Edna Foa is a famous research psychologist at Temple University in Philadelphia. She might have moved over to Penn, I'm not sure. But the controversy there was that when you do this memory rescripting, the patient will often come up with something very shocking to the therapist. And they were saying it's kind of a moral and ethical question. Should you let the patient do whatever they want to do? And they came to the conclusion that you should. That you shouldn't censor them, because the avoidance is the whole cause of the problem in the first place. And Merv Smucker described one of his first patients was a woman with borderline personality disorder, and her child self, had been abused or sexually abused or some such thing. So he brought her into the past. And then said, "What do you want to say to this little girl?" Thinking she'd say something very, loving and caring, and then what she said is, "I intend to kill you." And then Merv didn't know what to do, so following his own teachings, he said, "Okay, well, go ahead then and kill her." And then the woman gave pause and started sobbing and said, "Oh, I couldn't do that. I love her." So it came out really well. But it was very frightening for Merv. So it's one of the edgier techniques. And as you've pointed out, Matt, you have to have not only perfect empathy scores from the patient, but also a tremendous agenda with the patient to do this collaboratively and to do it together. And if you do it in that intelligent way, I've never had a problem with any kind of exposure technique.
Well said. Yeah. And as a therapist, if you're feeling some resistance to going and doing that type of work on a traumatic memory, I think it's okay to talk about that too. With your patient, to bring it up during process resistance, to let
I hadn't thought of that.
Know that this is some of the reluctance I'm feeling, and to talk that through to make sure you're both on the same page.
I did that with a woman who had fantasies of torture, of her baby being tortured horribly to death. And it was the scariest exposure I ever had to do. I kept telling her that I don't know if this is great treatment or horrible malpractice, but it's hard for you and it's hard for me. But we stuck to our guns, and eventually the fantasy lost its power, and she was cured of OCD in a flash in that moment.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I've I found this to be pretty useful for people as well. And it's not always trauma. It's sometimes like there have been situations where people just are grieving someone they've lost, and they'd like to have a conversation with them.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I started calling this the seance technique. It's incredible how well it works, where people can just have a conversation back and forth, playing both roles themselves and their missing loved ones, and they're
beautiful, yeah, to bring that person back to life and talk to them. Yeah, there's a lot of tender things you can do, but with past projection. I love that. Didn't we have an episode on that with either Richard Lamb or Tyann Trong? Yeah,
right.
And that is a really nice thing. And I think you got into it with Tyann in that episode, and the two of you were like fighting like cats and dogs. No, I'm just teasing, but it became very emotional, and you started crying, and it was really a beautiful episode that you brought to life there, Rhonda.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Tyann is a really brilliant therapist.
Yeah.
So the past can I just summarize to make sure I understand it? So the past projection is when you bring your client, or your client goes back into the past memory. And I know there's also future projection where they can see themselves in the future. And the rescripting is when they change the memory however they want to. And neither of those are done until a thorough agenda setting is accomplished, and you have a strong agenda and a strong relationship with the patient. And you also brought up, David, that you, besides memory rescripting, you can also do cognitive flooding, where they face their painful memory until it loses the power to affect them.
Yeah. And there's tons of other things you can do once you're in the past. Jaime Galindo has his forgiveness training, for example, that he used to do for free, workshops in the Catholic Church with people who had been abused in the past by a father or whoever. And he would actually have them pair off, and one of them would be the father who abused them, and then one would be the patient. And then they would say the things to that person who abused them that they would have liked to have said, but didn't know how to say or were afraid to say. So to say things like, Dad, I want you to know that I always loved you, and I always wanted your love. But it hurt me so much when you abused me, and when you did X, Y, and Z. And I've been brokenhearted ever since. And I've been felt kind of wounded my whole life because of that. And messages like that, not like revengeful messages, but loving, open messages, and just by his own description, Jaime, who told me about this technique, he said that people would say they'd made more progress in that 4-hour workshop in the Catholic Church than they had in years of therapy. And so that's like another thing that you can do. You can go into the past, you can stay in the present, or you can go into the future. And once you're wherever you're at, you're only limited by your creativity.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I love this conversation. I could keep going with it, but I think one other last thing, so we can move on to the next question that I might bring up, is a method called the affect bridge that has been helpful for a lot of people. And that's if you've got an understanding of one moment in time and the feelings that were present there, and you look at maybe the top 3 feelings, like maybe it's grief or anger or shame, and then you ask, well, what's a time before this that you had those same feelings? It's oftentimes very easy then to identify, that there's this memory in my past that I really wasn't that aware of, that I can then bring up more clearly. And what you'll see is this kind of fractal quality of our experiences in life, how what we experience as upsetting in this moment right now is really structured the same. The same kinds of thoughts were occurring in those older memories. And oftentimes it can be really powerful because our younger self, for some reason, we just have a lot more capacity to have empathy for that younger self going through those upsetting moments in life. And it often feels more powerful for people to do that work in the past and to see the connection and how there's when they're upset, it's always bringing up in a way those old memories.
Did you learn that from Jose Maldonado?
I think in part it was from Jose Maldonado, and in part it was from you, because I would do a daily mood log, and then I would say, well, when did I would do the affect bridge. What's a memory from my past where I felt the same way?
Oh,
and
yeah. Right.
It was kind of like doing, therapy at light speed. It was really powerful.
That's so cool. Are you still doing that?
I occasionally do. Yeah. If there's something like there's certain memories that I need to go back to occasionally and just remind myself, I was doing the best I could. It wasn't my fault. And it's actually based on some pretty good qualities that I have.
Yeah.
That I care about.
So you're adding so much to this, Matt, and I'd forgotten all about that affect bridge, but I remember hearing it when he came to do his hypnosis thing to the Tuesday group, and he was, he's an MD at Stanford, and he's kind of a flashy but really down to earth guy. Would that be fair to put it like that? Or he's total expert.
He's very charismatic and
charismatic.
He learned hypnosis as a Jesuit priest, and is one of the few people who would what is it when they cast out spirits and exorcism. So
we'll need him for our third question, which is about that.
Exorcisms, great.
Yeah.
Well, it also sounds very similar to what Richard Schwartz teaches about EMD, about internal family system, that affect bridge where you're going back to engage with your younger self and provide your adult self, giving empathy and understanding and befriending your younger self. So maybe he learned that from the people you're talking about too. Okay. Let's do our second question. This is from Slash, who asks, how do I overcome my resistance to losing weight? Dear Dr. Burns, I recently listened to your podcast episode on habits and addictions, and it really resonated with me. I've been going to the gym regularly, but I'm struggling with my eating habits. I tend to eat too much, and my weight has not decreased. What I realized is that I may be experiencing what you describe as outcome resistance. A part of me feels that if I lose weight and become thin and attractive, I might still not take action in areas like dating. So then I ask myself, why should I even bother with weight reduction? I'm finding it difficult to overcome this resistance, even though I want to be healthier. Could you please share some guidance or strategies to work through this kind of resistance? Thank you for all the wonderful work you do. Your podcasts have been truly insightful and helpful. Warm regards, Slash.
And I have to thank Slash because I think you've sent us, Slash, some great questions that we've used on previous podcasts too. So keep the questions coming, and I'll give my answer, which is very short, and then I'll let you two expand on it this time. But I would say that your resistance to losing weight is a part of the human condition. And if you'd like to find out why, use my triple paradox. I might be able to find one to link to in the show notes. But it's essentially a 3-column thing. And in the left-hand column, you say, what are all the good reasons to not to lose weight? What are all the good reasons to keep eating? And you come up with at least 5 or 10 or 15 overwhelming reasons to eat. And there are many. We all know that. And then number 2, in the second column, the middle column, you put what are all the downsides, what are all the really good reasons not to diet and exercise. So that's also a kind of a paradox, because dieting sucks. You have to deprive yourself. The exercising, you might not be in the mood, and you can watch TV instead. So all these good ideas, these powerful motivating factors, that keep you stuck. And then in the right-hand column, what your refusal to diet and exercise, your resistance, what it shows about, and your urge to overeat, what it shows about you and your core values as a human being that's positive and awesome. And if you fill that out on paper, you can send it to us, and I might even, read it on a future podcast. But that will give you at least 30 overwhelmingly powerful reasons to not to lose weight, and then you'll understand everything about your resistance to losing weight. And that if we were working together, then it would be your job to persuade me to work with you, given all of these 30 reasons, and I might even become that part of your subconscious mind using the technique externalization of resistance to tell you, well, you shouldn't have to lose weight because you love to eat, and life is going to become a lot less enjoyable if you give up all those wonderful foods that you like, and blah blah blah, and see if you can shoot all those reasons down. And then the other half of my short answer, which turned out to be non-short, was to use the decision-making tool that you can download from any page on my website. It's 2 free unpublished chapters that were intended for my book, Feeling Great, but the book got too long, and so I had to pull something out, so I pulled out these chapters, but you can get them, and you can learn how to use the decision-making tool, and there you can balance 2 choices against each other, like eating whatever you want, whenever you want, and versus dieting and exercise. And it's a really cool 4-compartment analysis with calculations. We have an electronic version now that will do the calculations for you. And this will also show you why you're stuck.
Yeah, I love that answer, David. I'm glad you went into more detail. If I'm hearing the question correctly, there's a concern about this outcome resistance, the resistance we would feel if losing weight were just as easy as pressing a button, that there's an imagining that even if he presses the button and lost that weight, that he still wouldn't go out and try to date, and then he might feel disappointed in himself, so he thinks, what's the point then of losing this weight and going through the process? That I think for most people, it's the process resistance that's most intense when it comes to changing a habit, like overeating. We don't want to feel deprived, and we want to enjoy eating, and we don't want to go through that suffering that's involved to achieve the outcome. One thought I'm having is, I wonder if he's thinking, I need to first get this better body, and then I'll go out and start getting rejections and facing that fear. And one idea I'm having is just to look at the process resistance to getting rejected, and to see if he'd be willing to just face that fear now, just to start going out and saying hello to people, flirting with them, asking them out on a date. And that if he were to do that and face that fear, then he might have less of the outcome resistance in the future. He might feel more confident that, oh yeah, I would be even more successful, flirting and getting people to go out on dates with me if I had that better body. So, and then he might be more motivated in that.
Yeah, and we might want to do something paradoxical on that too. All the really good reasons not to date, not to confront my fears.
Yeah, I might get rejected.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, that's really a great additional dimension. Your turn, Rhonda.
Yeah, I love
with anything else.
Well, I love everything both of you have said, but I would start at a different place with a daily mood log and look at all of the negative thoughts that he's having. Like, if you change this thought, why should I even bother with weight reduction, to a declarative statement, I shouldn't have to bother with weight reduction, and think about what are the other thoughts he's telling himself when he's confronting himself with his habit, or not wanting to change his habit. and then go through the process of challenging those thoughts that he's telling himself. I'm not sure I would fill out a habit and mood log because it doesn't sound like it's a tempting thought. It sounds like it's a punishing thought. It's a critical thought about himself. So I'd want to identify more of his critical, harsh thoughts.
Great. So we got, 3 powerful tools for you, Slash, and hope you enjoyed the dialogue, and we hope to hear from you again.
Right. And now our third question is from Constantina, who asks, do negative thoughts come from demons? Hello, David and Rhonda and Matt. I'm doing some research into spiritual causes of depression. I realize that you are scientists and brilliant ones, but if you have any sources I could review, I would really appreciate suggestions. We're close to Halloween when we're recording this, so she says, it might also make for an interesting Halloween season podcast. Do demons cause automatic negative thoughts? And if not demons, what actually causes them? Please don't dismiss this question as crazy. I'm a very religious person, and at times I have sincerely asked this question. Are depression and anxiety, at least in part, spiritual maladies? I have found tremendous help in feeling good, but also in prayer and religious practices. I want to research what has been done in terms of crossover studies and experiments, if any.
Okay, yeah. So I'll give you guys first shot at this.
Well, I'm going to just answer part of her question when she said she's found tremendous help in the feeling good and team therapy, but also in prayer and religious practices. I wonder if prayer is a positive thought that she's repeating to herself over and over again, which counteracts the negative thoughts that she's having, or challenges the negative thoughts, or replaces her negative thoughts. That's the power of prayer for her.
Well, that's speculative.
Right. It's just
a placebo effect and have a lot of effects. But we could point out that team has a spiritual dimension, but it's not kind of approached in the way that she is describing. But if that's working for her, that's totally fine. I've never used spirituality as a healing technique. But at the moment patients recover, and I ask them, does this help you understand your own spiritual orientation in a deeper way? And some of them aren't interested in that because they're atheists or they think they don't have a spiritual orientation, but many do. And it doesn't make any difference if they're Christian or Jewish or Islam or whatever. When you have a kind of a transformation and overcome negative feelings and suddenly you're flooded with joy, it usually is a kind of enlightenment, a spiritual experience. So to my way of thinking, the recovery goes so far where all your negative feelings go down to zero, but then the spiritual dimension comes in where you go kind of into various levels of joy and connection with others, with the universe, however you want to put it.
I love that. It's so true.
Yeah, this is a good question for near Halloween. I had a couple thoughts on it. So
Kill.
Yeah, so I was going to say that I think that our negative feelings come from upsetting thoughts that we have. But I think that the sort of the concept of a demon is kind of a useful metaphor in a way. And sometimes we've talked here on the podcast, David, about how there's a sinner and a saint in each of us, and we'll see sometimes the different parts of us come to life and come out. And they serve different purposes. Sometimes, there's the concept of a demon could just be sort of our anger or our rage, and it might be there to protect us from certain things and have a function and a utility. And certainly, we were just talking about Jose Maldonado doing exorcism, and exorcism is because of a culturally bound belief that it's based on suggestion, and essentially it's a form of a conversion disorder where people will believe that they've been, taken over by a demon. And you can see movies about this. The Exorcist is a classic movie about this. And then Jose would come by, and this would be at Stanford Hospital, and someone would be demonically possessed. And he would just sprinkle some water on them and say some Latin things. And they would go through this kind of ritual together of exorcising that demon. And essentially what it always tended to be was a hidden emotion, that the symptoms were really kind of letting the person know there's something not right here, and that they need some help and some support, and let's go to a priest and someone who can help them figure this out. And this is sort of the way to get that to that relief. So
you guys are making these questions so awesome and interesting.
Oh, thanks, David.
Thank you.
I love answering these questions. It's really great. I always learn. I
can answer, Constantine, your question also from a scientific point of view. Your question is, do demons cause negative thoughts? And in cognitive therapy or team therapy, we have a theory about what causes negative thoughts, and that's self-defeating beliefs. And this comes into the spiritual dimension of healing a little bit too. But I have this list of 23 self-defeating beliefs, like the achievement addiction. My worthwhileness as a human being depends on my achievements and intelligence and productivity. And then the love addiction is I must be loved to feel happy and truly fulfilled. I can't feel truly happy and fulfilled without love and things of that nature. And we say that a self-defeating belief paired with a certain kind of upsetting event, that's what causes the distorted thoughts. So if you have, say, the love addiction, and a young woman in one of our training groups who Matt might recall that came to attended one of the training groups, and she'd been rejected by her boyfriend, and then she after 2 years, and then she said, "Dr. Burns, does this mean that I'm unlovable, and that I'll be alone forever?" So you see the love addiction. I need love to be worthwhile, and now I've been rejected. At this point in time, I don't have love, therefore I'm not worthwhile. You see, and I'm going to be alone forever, and start beating up on yourself. Or it could be, if it's the achievement addiction, we would predict that your negative thoughts would come when you're threatened with failure or have experienced a failure. Now, those questions, those theories sound absolutely dynamite if you've worked with patients, because we see these patterns all the time. But proving them with research is quite another thing, and these haven't been proven with research. A lot of things have been proven and disproven with research, and recently we have proof for the first time. With a huge database of app users, of almost 7,000 app users, we proved for the first time that negative thoughts really are the cause of depression. It's not a chemical imbalance in the brain, but it is your thoughts, just as Epictetus claimed 2,000 years ago, and we finally were able to prove that. So things are yielding to science, but where do the negative thoughts come from? That's still a hypothesis. But at any rate, thank you, Constantina, and for your wonderful question, and we wish you the best of luck with your awesome spiritual research.
Yeah, Constantina, I love that question too, and hope you'll ask more like it. And David, I wanted to piggyback just on one thing that you were saying there, that what are the thoughts that cause this sense of being of conversion? I think they're often related to moral teachings. And so in a Christian culture where there are the 10 Commandments, it's essentially a series of should statements. You shouldn't murder, you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't commit adultery. But what if someone is experiencing something in their life where they feel very tempted, let's say to steal food for their family? Then that might create a conflict within them where they start to fear they're going to go to hell. And where do demons live? Demons are in hell. And so a way of expressing that hidden emotion and that conflict within themselves and ultimately finding resolution is to experience demonic possession and then visit the church. So that's been something that's occurred throughout history, where there's been strong moral statements made, and they're good guideposts, but they can also create these conflicts within ourselves.
Well, you're on a roll today, and time says we have to stop and move on to our next podcast. But I think today was your greatest cornucopia of wisdom outpouring on any podcast. Would you agree with that, Rhonda?
Well, I don't know if I can have Matt compete with other podcasts because I believe you've said that before to him. So I'll just say that, Matt, you've maintained your high level of standard of brilliance.
Well, I couldn't do it without the two of you. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, but it sure is fun, and it's a privilege. And thank all of you for sending us these great questions and tuning in, because we love answering your questions on spirituality, on morality, on psychotherapy, and we can answer any question now, even about, say, automobile engines. We've become enlightened, and we can answer all questions now. And so ask us some, incredibly difficult thing from theoretical physics from the Advanced Study Institute at Princeton, and we guarantee we can answer that question. And to find out how that's done, you'll have to tune in to our next podcast.
Fantastic.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.